I would like to start to say that a discussion we had this morning about sacred, the meaning of sacred to science. And it's a personal experience. I had to go through, after 20 years studying the Amazon with airplanes, supercomputers, flux towers, and all sorts of tools, scientific tools. I heard a speech by a shaman from the Yanomami people saying basically that the white people do not know that when they lose the forest, they won't have rain anymore. And without rain, they won't have anything to drink or to eat. That was the simple statement by a religious leader of the Yanomami. And that summed up 20 years of sweat and blood and, suffering, trying to extract that same learning from the forest. The Amazon life, and as it's true for the Congo, it's true for the Southeastern Asia, it's true for all tropical forests, took tens of millions of years to evolve. So it's not something that just happened. And we often we miss this time dimension. Tens of millions of years. In the Amazon, it's 55 millions of years, 56. Is how many times the time human beings were in Earth. It's something that much before we arrived in the scene, it was already going on. And what was going on was the wonder of technology in its natural form. Many people don't like when I make this type of comparison because it sounds like I'm going back to the 19th century with the watches and Newton physics and positivism, but it's not. It's just a metaphor to bring the subject to understanding that every living entity is a miracle of technology. We don't realize it because it's miniaturized and because it's automatic. Everything that works automatically, like our body, is out of our mind. We don't realize it. And that's why we are destroying it so fast. So the conclusion of this very quick introduction is the abundant living technology found in forests is irreplaceable. Once we lost it for good. It's not something that we can regret and go back and plant again, and there will be the forest. It's lost. And lost for the planet. Well, using another metaphor of mysteries and secrets, I will just, with three mysteries that have been solved by science in the last couple of decades, I will illustrate what I was saying about losing something that's so valuable that we won't be able to recover. This is water vapor, which is invisible, seen using satellites from the space. What you see there is an incredible upwelling of transpiration coming off the Amazon. It's incredible because it's so powerful, so immensely powerful. There is a mystery there because, all the water comes from the ocean. Ocean is the final repository and the final source of all the water that we have on land. When you have the water vapor coming from the ocean, fresh water, moving inland, it starts raining as it progresses inland, and then it becomes dry. And if you had not something keeping it wet along the way, the internal part of large continents would be basically deserts, as there are some deserts in the world, which fits precisely in this category. What can bring moisture that we saw from the satellite, from the ground up, and pump it into the atmosphere with power? We immediately have this image of a geyser. I don't know if you have seen a geyser. You have this steamy water from geological sources, shouting into the air and irrigating the atmosphere with vapor. What we have in the Amazon, I don't know any geysers. Maybe in the Andes there are some, but I haven't been presented. Not geysers that would explain what we saw from the satellite in terms of upwelling of vapor. But we have a different type of geyser. the benevolent and silent creature called trees. They are green geysers. They are pumping water, and in so doing, they are also an air conditioner. You know, you've been under a tree in a hot day. Anywhere in the world you have this experience. It's incredibly comfortable and fresh. And this is not out of chance. This is because the tree is doing this transpiration, which is lowering the temperature. And this lowering the temperature has local, regional, and global influence. A typical large tree in the Amazon can pump up to 1,000 liters in one single day. And if you look to the entire Amazon, 5.5 million of square kilometers, it amounts to 20 billion tons or 20 trillion liters of water in one day. This is more than what the Amazon River, which is the largest river on Earth, discharges in the Atlantic in the same period. So you have an upwelling river of vapor that's larger than the Amazon River coming off from the trees. So the mystery was solved here in understanding why we saw this upwelling. But if we have to get an idea what that implies in terms of energy, you can compare, for example, if you could put this 20 billion tons of water in a giant kettle. Imagine a kettle, that one that you plug in the wall and you boil the water. How much energy, electricity, would you use to evaporate 20 billion tons of water? And it turns out you would need 50,000 hydroelectric dams like Itaipu, which is the second in the world. It's between Brazil and Paraguay. Or 1 day of evaporation in the Amazon amounts to the energy produced by humanity in 1 full year. That's the size of the pump we have in the Amazon. If you look to the satellite again, and you see that 10 years of data showing surface temperature, you see that deserts get warm in the summer, cold in the winter, but rainforests are cool year-round, and that's because it was transparent. This is a cooling effect that is so important, and it's being overlooked because we are too much concentrated on carbon. I will return in this subject. Mystery number 2. First, in the 90s, we had this aircraft experiments in the Amazon, and we realized the atmosphere in the Amazon is very similar to the atmosphere over the ocean. So similar, the same type of maritime clouds, same type of clean air that the scientists call the Amazon the green ocean. It's not the ocean, but it's the green ocean because it's vast and it's exchanging moisture and energy with the atmosphere. But there was a mystery, and the mystery is this is rainfall seen from the satellite. It's a satellite that goes around the equator every 3 hours. So it has a radar on board, and it sees what clouds are pouring, rain. And you see that the Amazon and the other forests are, raining much more than the blue ocean. How could that be? It's the same type of atmosphere. Nonetheless, over the forest, you have all this abundant rainfall. So it turns out, when you look at how the clouds are formed, that without having dust, particle dust in the air, you won't have what is called nucleation, or condensation around a particle dust. You need to have this dust in order to. But the air over the forest is so clean, because it's washing. You get downpours every day. It's washing the air. So how did the forest do it? Well, the trees, everyone who has walked in the forest can feel the smells, the scent coming off all the vegetation. And this turns out, in the air, it precipitates as a very fine, invisible dust. I called it the pixie dust, because it's like a magical powder, which makes the rain from nucleation of this abundant moisture we saw in the first mystery that was resolved. So basically, you have first trees putting this enormous amount of moisture in the air. Then it releases the pixie dust, which nucleates that and produces this low very gentle clouds that do not have ice inside. So it's basically the watering can of the Garden of Eden. And this was a fantastic discovery because you don't see anywhere else this type of interference of vegetation on the functioning of the atmosphere. Mystery number 3, and the last one for this talk, is about the desert belt. You know, at 30 degrees south and north, you have those deserts aligned in a belt. And the explanation is because the equator is so much, there's so much more energy available. You have moist air rising there, losing moisture. That's why you have the forest there. And then when it comes off at 30 degrees north and south, it lowers as a dry air, dry cold air, and it tends to produce a desert there. That's why the deserts are aligned, these deserts are aligned there. But we have a mystery. And the mystery is not the only one, but this one accounts for this square here between Cuiabá and Buenos Aires, São Paulo, and the Andes, which produces 70% of South America GDP, gross domestic product. This is where industry is, all the agriculture, everything is going on there. It's the economic machine of South America. And it is in the same latitude of the Atacama Desert in this side, but it's not desert, it's green. That was a mystery. You know, in rivers, if you think of water like blood in our stream, rivers are, in fact, the veins of the landscape, because it brings the water that is used back to the ocean. And there was a new type of rivers we called flying rivers, which is this moisture coming back from the ocean where the mouth is of these rivers, going through the stretch over the green ocean that pumps these rivers, move it along, and then bring moisture to land. So flying rivers is a concept that, just a second, that caught on the public imagination, because we had this project that talked directly to people's imagination, sense of adventure, and hearts, something that science has a hard time doing. You need marketeers to do this type of, and we are in time now to do this big time, because otherwise we won't get people. You go in Brazil now, and people know what flying rivers are. They don't know about IPCC. They don't know about. They know about climate change, but just on the edge. But the flying rivers, they know a lot because it's catchy, right? The story. And the flying rivers, of course, solve the problem that we had. The Amazon is exporting this massive river of moisture, which counters the tendency of this area to be deserts. And that's why it's not desert. So the headwaters of every stream and river in this area is the Amazon. Without the Amazon, we probably will become another desert. Well, this is the three mysteries, just to bring this fascination with discoveries that the natives knew already. They didn't have to destroy the forest to learn that. But I hear now very often people saying about the importance of lowering the emissions, that how we must reform our energy and transportation systems. But forests are not, well, they are a little bit with red, but on the sidelines. And they should be the center axis. And I will explain to you why. This is a picture of vegetation, you know, in the northern hemisphere in the summer, obviously, and the southern hemisphere also in the summer. And you have green everywhere outside the deserts. So you are tempted to think that the green creatures that colonize continents are everywhere, except the deserts. But if you look to the productivity of those ecosystems, and this is the next image, you see that the real action in terms of carbon is between the tropics and the equatorial zone. And so the tropical forests are actually the carbon engine of the planet. And now we're talking about carbon, carbon storage, as Francis has put so well here, and carbon sink, the active capacity of sinking. And just an information, because the forests are being damaged so badly, many stretches of the forest are now a carbon source. Because the forests only are sinks when they are healthy. When they're damaged, they are a source. But carbon, CO2, responds only for 20% of the global warming, or the greenhouse effect. 60 to 82% of the warming is from water vapor. You didn't hear about this, right? Because water vapor is everywhere. We have 70% of our surface is an ocean. And the meteorologists will tell you, we can change water vapor. Whenever you have a warming induced by carbon, or methane, or nitrous oxide, water vapor will come as a given. I have only 2 minutes. So, we forgot the forest, and the water thing is much more important than the carbon. Carbon is important, basic, but the water is much more important. I will just jump over an area of my presentation because Francis has done a terrific job of speaking about destruction. Sorry, Francis, but I will go straight to where I think in the last 40 years, in Brazilian Amazon alone, we have been chopping trees 2,000 a minute for the last 40 years. So just to give you the dimension, we are cremating and degrading the wells of life. The smoke released from fires are damaging the rain system that I showed you in the beginning, which is damaging further the green ocean. Even areas that are not deforested, when they lack rainfall in the dry season, they become flammable, so fire breaks in. There's huge areas of degraded forests emerging everywhere, not only in specific places. So, in conclusion, deforestation leads to inhospitable climate. But we have opportunities, and I hope this meeting will be a great opportunity to engage people with hearts and conscience in this debate. And I just listed 5 things we need to do. First is a total war against ignorance. We need to bring to the masses, to everybody, to the consciences and to the hearts, the notions that science has produced, but also native people have known all along. We need to zero deforestation yesterday, not in 2030 like the Brazilian government has pledged. We need to abolish fire, smoke, and soot for the reasons. We need to replant. Just stopping the destruction is no longer enough. We need to replant forests everywhere, inclusive in the deserts. And we have now technology to recover deserts with forests. And we need the consciousness of caring people. And the last image. If an egg is broken by an outside force, life ends. If broken by an inside force, life begins. Great things always begin from the inside. Thank you.